Would you like a guide, a resource to help you have a secure retirement? We're excited today to tell you about our new book called Secure Your Retirement. And by the end of this video, you're going to gain clarity for your personal retirement plan and have action items to secure your retirement.
To learn more about securing your retirement and all the different elements you need to know, subscribe to our channel and hit the bell to be notified when we post a video every Monday. We have helped hundreds of our clients gain clarity and get on the path to a comfortable and happy retirement. Now it's your turn. Let's dive in.
Welcome, everyone, to Retirement in Action. Today, our podcast is kind of special for Merce and I because we have had our new book, Secure Your Retirement, just come out. It just is now available on Amazon. You can get it in a paperback as well as on Kindle. You can actually see it here if you're watching this on YouTube. But we're super excited, and we kind of want to talk to you a little bit about kind of almost the why we did this, why we wanted to write this book, and what we feel it's good for, and kind of take you through a little bit of a synopsis on that. In all essence, we view this book as a resource. The purpose of writing this book is not to sell a bunch of books. I'll be very honest with you. The purpose of this book is to help people that are thinking about retirement or planning for and living through retirement to kind of have a source to provide them some information on how, what they got to think about. What are some of the rules? What are some things they need to consider? We have sent this out to a few people to have it read ahead of time. We have gotten back very positive feedback, and we will tell you at the end of our podcast how you can get a copy. But we're just going to start now and kind of tell you a little bit about how the book is broken down, some things you might look for in the book. So, Merce, you want to start us off on kind of maybe giving us some couple pointers about what we were trying to discuss?
Yeah. So like Raiden said, a very exciting time. This book, we put a lot of time and effort into, and now it's finally sitting here right in front of us in paper form. And so we're happy to bring it to you. We want to give you a little bit of an idea as to what we are talking about in the book. It is called Secure Your Retirement, just like this podcast is. And so the goal is very much the same. It's to educate as much as we can on topics that we think are very important to achieving that peace of mind in your retirement future. So the first chapter we believe is very important. The first chapter is all about the investment side. And I'm trying to get to it here. It's entitled, Why Buy and Hold Could Kill Your Retirement Plan. So if you've listened to us on this podcast, we talk quite a bit about how important we believe that an active management strategy, more specifically an active management strategy with downside protection in retirement is. So this chapter goes through it quite a bit in detail. If you read this chapter, you'll get a very, very good glimpse as to how we manage money in the markets with that downside protection so we can avoid some of those major issues that the markets bring to the table, like 2008 when the market lost 38%, like last year in 2020 when we had the pandemic and the market fell over 30% in a matter of less than 2 months. So the markets, what we know, are always going to have those issues. And so we have a system that we feel confident in that can avoid some of those major portfolio losses that you've probably seen in your lifetime. And ultimately, that does end up, if you can avoid the stress with those big downturns, we believe that can lead to a conducive peace of mind retirement. So chapter 1 is very good. All of these chapters, by the way, in the book are a very easy read. So we're not getting nitty gritty into the numbers or into the technicals or anything like that. It's very conceptual. And we just want you to understand as much as you can about what we're talking about.
Yeah, I think what I like about and I always tell people that, we like to have a way for them to get an understanding of how we manage money, because there's a few different ways you can have money managed. And we are not by any means telling people that we have the perfect way to manage money. There is no perfect way. What we have done, though, over the years is we have looked for and tried to build a methodology, a way to manage money, and particularly for people that are close to or already in retirement, and basically say, how can you get a decent rate of return and not lose so much money? Well, I say that to people and they'll say, well, yeah, but I need to understand it. I understand why you made that decision. Well, chapter 1 goes into that and says, why is it that we believe active management is right for us? Why do we think it's right for our clients? And it breaks it down and says, here's the numbers. Here's why it is. This is what we're trying to protect against. And I think it explains it in a way that you may or may not agree, but at least you'll understand why we're doing what we're doing. So I encourage you to just it's an easy read. This is not a, complicated thing. We didn't make a lot of jargon in there. That's, if you think, I don't even understand how stocks and bonds work. It's not about that. It's about the concept. And if you think about the concept, do I want to lose a bunch of money? If you say the answer to that is no, well, then you want to read chapter 1, because chapter 1 tells you how we do what we do so that we don't lose so much money. All right, let's move on to the second chapter. And we're not going to do every chapter. We're trying to give you the highlights here. But chapter 2 talks about lifetime income. Now, sometimes people translate that very quickly in their mind, and they translate that into, oh, he must be talking about a pension or an annuity. We're not. We do talk about, though, the importance of breaking income down. And we break income into 3 categories. The first is essential needs. The second are wants. And the third are what we call giveaway money or legacy. So basically what we're doing in this chapter is saying, should you think about income as you get ready for retirement? And then if you're in retirement, what do you need to look for when it comes to income? And so this, again, is not saying, hey, this is the way to do it. It's just saying, hey, here's things you need to think about. What else do you have on that, Merce? I know this is a big part of what you talk to folks about as well.
Yeah. So what we talk about this whole concept of a retirement financial plan. And so in order to be able to get to a point where you can know that you're going to have enough money to last the rest of your life and take care of your family, there's some work that needs to be done. And that is within the retirement financial plan. So where is the money going to be coming from? How much have we saved? How much are we going to be spending? And then we got to be thinking through all the what ifs. What if there's a long-term care scenario? What if a spouse predeceases the other? And on the positive side, what if we want to buy a second home? Or what if we want to travel for the first 10 years of our life? So these are all things that we need to be thinking about in order to kind of achieve that peace of mind in a retirement planning perspective, something that we know that we can count on. Once we know all of these numbers, well, then, yeah, we can come up with the strategies that's going to work within the construct of the plan. So chapter 2 is very strong. We believe that a good retirement financial plan is the foundation of all the decisions that you make in retirement. So it's a really good read there. Next couple chapters are all they're somewhat related. Chapter 3 is tax reduction strategies. Chapter 4 is required minimum distributions and the Secure Act. And chapter 5 is about IRAs. These are all topics that we get questions from clients all the time. Tax reduction strategies. Everyone is always looking to how can we not pay so much tax? There's always worries about taxes going up in the future. And there are some strategies there. We've talked about it previously in the podcast about Roth conversions and how important those can be, or about life insurance planning. Those are all hot topics right now because of the threat of taxes going up. So we decided to include it in the book. As far as the Secure Act, there's a chapter there on the Secure Act. For a very long time, we talked about the stretch IRA. That's an inheritance point of view on how someone can inherit the IRA and then stretch it over their lifetime. Well, that changed back in 2020. So we made sure to include that in this book as well. And the change was the introduction of the Secure Act. So a lot of different things happened there. Now you cannot stretch it over your lifetime for the majority of people. It's going to be limited to 10 years. So you'll make sure you want to dive into that and really understand how your IRA is going to be transferred over and start thinking about the best strategies there now that we've had that change. And then IRAs, RMDs, those are always questions that everyone is going to have because the majority of us do have IRAs. So we wanted to bring that up to speed. There was a tiny change with the Secure Act. The RMD age went from 70 and a half to 72. So we explain what that is and how that all works. And then there's some frequently asked questions that we get on IRAs in there as well. So that's a few chapters there in a very high level for you.
Yeah, we on one of our folks that we sent out the book for a pre-read to kind of help us to evaluate what we had got. They said, oh my goodness. And I did not know the stretch IRA was gone. And, and we talk about it. We've had podcasts talking about it. We've had blog articles written about it, but sometimes it just doesn't click. And I get that, and so that's why we put this chapter in here, or these chapters all around these topics, because IRAs are not easy. They're complicated. The rules around them are complicated. Just updating things like, hey, you don't have to take an RMD at 70 and a half. You have to wait till 72. That's in there, and it breaks down how much you have to take. We have all the tables in there. So it's really, again, this is a guide or a tool more than it is trying to, say that this is some storybook. Although we have some cool stories in there, this is way more about saying, hey, I want to make sure that I have, an understanding of how things work. All right, I'm going to skip down because I think this one's so important. But chapter 8 is really talking about risk tolerance. And that is important because, one of the things that we talk about with folks is, we got to make sure that the portfolio is designed in such a way that you're not sitting there and you do not have peace of mind. I'll give you an example. Let's say that we walk you through, and I always use numbers. You got $1 million in savings between IRA, non-IRA, money in the bank, whatever it might be. So it just makes it an easy number. If we got $1 million and we said, hey, how would you want this invested? A lot of times people say, I'm a conservative investor, or I'm a moderately conservative investor. So we say, okay, what does that mean to you? I don't know. It sounds good. I'm conservative. I'm moderately conservative. So we say, okay, let's say that your $1 million, you had a period of time and it was down 15%. And then we convert that 15% into dollars. So that means $150,000 down. And they go, whoa, whoa, whoa. I am not interested in seeing that in my account. Well, quite honestly, that's a pretty conservative investor. That's a moderately conservative investor who says that. So in normal terms, in normal language, if you were talking to an advisor, they might say, oh man, that's what it is. So sometimes Merce and I find we've got clients who say their threshold is only 5%, $50,000 on their million. Well, for us and the way we manage money, we would call that a conservative investor, but yet we would make sure that we had thresholds put in place so that they're not in a position that they would ever be below 5%, or at least it would be extremely, extremely rare and difficult to get them below 5%. But then we got some investors who say, some savers who say, I really want good rates of return. And I understand that if I got to go after those big rates of return, I might have to have a little bit of volatility in the portfolio. And so they're willing to go 15 or 20% as a risk tolerance. But you got to understand that. And we have a way for you to walk through that and think about that. And chapter 8 really helps you to think through your risk. Merce, you got anything to add on that?
No, I think you did it. I think you summed it up pretty good. I mean, we take all of our clients and even people that are not even clients yet, we take them through the risk conversation just so they understand, because, knowing the numbers rather than answering some subjective questions, we think is way more important. So risk tolerance is big. I would encourage you, if you haven't reevaluated, you should reevaluate that every now and then, because things change, life changes. And so it's a big deal. The last chapter of the book is also pretty important. It's entitled How to Find a Financial Professional You Can Trust. We talk about this all the time, that, you need to find someone that you are comfortable with. And we talk about that in this chapter. And some of the things that you may want to ask that person that you're thinking about starting a relationship with. Questions like, hey, are you a fiduciary? What does a fiduciary even mean? We explain that in the chapter. Documents you may want to request from them or be able to understand from them. And the biggest one is, well, how do you get paid as an advisor? We go through the different structures there as to, well, are you commission-based? Are you fee-based? Are you fee-only? All those different things. It's good to know going into a meeting with them, just so you can understand, what type of advisor do you want to work with? And does this person that you're talking to actually fit that bill? So it's a short chapter. The book in general is a quick and easy read. So we hope you enjoy it. We've already got some great feedback, and would love to hear some more.
All right. So let's say you're listening to this and you think, I wouldn't mind having a copy of this book. Well, there's a couple things you can do. One, the easiest way is to go to Amazon. And on Amazon, by the way, it's on all the book online stores that you can go to, but Amazon's super easy. And there's a couple of things you can do. One, you can get the Kindle version. And if you are Amazon Prime, you get the Kindle version at no cost. But you get the Kindle version, and then also you can get the paperback copy. So do that. And if you do that, we certainly would love to hear your feedback. So please, if you would, write us a review. Certainly would help as far as that goes. Again, the purpose of this is not for us to go out and try to be booksellers. Our idea is to give you information and to help you to understand and navigate this idea of how to plan for and live throughout retirement. But again, we appreciate you listening. We hope this has been beneficial. We hope that this book is beneficial to you. We're certainly excited about it. So we hope you have a great week, great weekend. We'll talk to you on Monday.
We hope this video has given you some confidence and clarity as you plan for a worry-free life in retirement. But what else do you need? We have created a complimentary video course called 3 Keys to Secure Your Retirement. This video walks you through step by step what you need to do to get ready for retirement. You can also check out our podcast called Secure Your Retirement. You can subscribe below.
For more retirement tips, watch this video. Create your retirement income plan. Also, click here to subscribe to our podcast, Secure Your Retirement. If you like this video, hit the like button and be sure to subscribe and share it with your friends.